So self-expression, expressing what you're feeling on the inside and expressing them out, all these emotions, expressing them through a medium is basically key in order to live not only a fulfilling life, but it is also the first step that you can take to enter this process of letting go. Because when you're storing so much emotions on the inside, maybe pain, it may be anger, you're essentially piling it up like a balloon. It's growing bigger, bigger, and bigger. And one small event or one small incident is going to come in like a needle and prick that balloon, and boom, it explodes, and you lose your mind, and everything just explodes at that moment. Whatever emotion that was holding you inside, maybe tears of joy, tears of sadness, or maybe just pure violent anger, it's gonna blast outside in a much more intense way. So if you're feeling angry, like really angry, and if you want to yell out curse words, do it. If you feel sad, and you feel like crying, like you really feel the weight of the world on your shoulders, cry. And if you feel happy, if you feel excited, and you feel like fucking jumping around like a crazy person, do it. Because you judge yourself more than other people do. Whatever you would think, because human beings are designed in a certain way where we are our worst critic. We judge ourselves more than others. Others may look at you and they may judge like, okay, this person is a little overexcited. But then you replay that situation in your mind again and again for years on together. And if you look at it at a much more different perspective, it is not the fear of expression that we have, it is a fear of judgment. We fear, what if the other person may judge us? What if the other person may think bad of ourselves? Will the other person think about us? What will society think about us? I mean, I'm not telling you to go running around screaming curse words on the streets or in public places, but you can do that in the comfort of your own home. When I say this, I mean it, because yesterday I watched this amazing sunset with my amazing friend, and she was just looking at the sunset and going, yeah, it's beautiful. I was totally flabbergasted by this sunset because the skies were pink. They were literally pink, purple. There were shades of orangish yellow, and there was a tint of blue. And the sun was so beautiful, it almost looked like this sunset from Kung Fu Panda. You know, when Po looks at the sunset from the kingdom, and he's a dragon warrior, and he hears the news for the first time, and he looks at the sunset, and the sunset looks so beautiful while orchids are flying all over, and that's how it felt like. But there were no orchids, but still, it was so beautiful. I took out my phone, I took a video of it, and I took some pictures, and I was so happy, like I started singing songs. Literally started humming songs. I didn't sing them out loud, I was humming songs, and she was right next to me. She looked at the sunset, she said it was beautiful. She took out her phone, clicked 2 pictures, put it back in, and like, just nodded her head. And I asked her, like, are you not excited? She said she's really excited, but I could feel she was excited. She wanted to show that emotion, but she was so self-conscious, like she was looking around, like, are people watching? Are people watching me enjoy the sunset? Are they judging me if I enjoy the sunset? And that is when it hit my mind, like all of us have this nature, and there's nothing wrong in having that, but it kind of limits us in expressing or feeling the range of emotions that a human being has to experience. And it is not our fault, it is not my fault, it is not your fault. It is the fault of our upbringing, of society conditioning us into believing that we should behave in a certain way, we must talk in a certain way, we must act in a certain way. And we are social creatures, we are social beings. We have this fear of not fitting in, so we would comply and do anything to fit in the crowd. And we don't want to express that emotion of joy, we don't want to express that emotion of happiness. Or because if you are so uptight and held up and not expressing this emotion of anger or pain, and let's say you want to tell someone something because they've hurt you, they've said things that they could never take back, and you want to go and confront them, you have that fear. And many of us, we don't want to go and confront them directly. We want to just let things slide. We want to be comfortable, because if you go and comfort them for the things that they have said, comfort them for the feelings that you've had inside, you fear that that person may leave you. And I talk about this in why people still stay in toxic relationships. And this is the whole dynamic that plays out, because we are so afraid of being alone and not fitting in the social group and the social dynamic that we forget to acknowledge what is going on inside and inside here. And we let so many things slide. So when you're not expressing these negative emotions or this not so pleasant emotions such as anger, jealousy, envy, hate, or vengeance, if you're not expressing them, not only it's going to pile up, but also you would have trouble expressing positive emotions such as joy, enlightenment, or even love. Many people have a hard time expressing love. You have a hard time expressing love because your body is not used to expressing emotions when it has experienced it. And this is the reason many people go and take alcohol, consume alcohol. They do cigarettes, they consume drugs and all the other, because that makes them feel something. Now, a girl that I dated 2-3 months ago, she was so lively. She was so lively, a beautiful person while she was drunk. When she was drunk, she would tell me all these amazing things. Like, she would talk about color palette, how beige goes well with olive green. And she would tell me so many colors, like her vocabulary was filled with color patterns mixing and matching each other. She would see art in even bottles around. We'd be walking down the street, she would see the color palette in the trees, on the sidewalk. But all of this would happen only when she's drunk. When she's not drunk, when she's sober, none of this would come out. Like, literally, she would be so uptight, but when she's drunk, you see the real her. She's so entertaining. She has so much of knowledge. Like, she has all this nerdy knowledge, which I really absolutely adore. I find it so intellectually pleasing, aesthetically, when she talks about it, there's this aura. Our whole energy field kind of changes, and it is so lively, and everything just lights up around her. And she's not like that when she's not drunk. It happens only when she's drunk. And I was in the same place. Whenever I was drunk, you would hear symphonies coming out of my mouth. I would go on and on. But if I'm not drunk, I'd be this quiet kid. I'd be this shy, introverted person. Even though I'm not an introverted person, I love to express myself, and I trust in that expression of of all your emotions. But still, without alcohol, I was in this place where I was so uptight, so like I'm living in this derp state, and it was so hard for me to express myself. And after coming out of all that and doing this inner work and acknowledging the fact that, okay, this is what it is, these are my issues, I have to deal with them, and by expressing my emotions and letting go of them, I can also live a fulfilled life like people live in fantasies. And it's not fantasy, it is real life. You can actually do this. It is actually doable, and you can implement them. And I was so surprised when I had this feeling. And when I looked at her, I really asked her, like, do you feel the same when you're not drunk? And she was very honest, and I appreciated that. She told me, like, no, I don't feel this way when I'm not drunk, and that's the reason I drink. So this is a thing. Many of us, just you, me, and all of us, we pile up our emotions, keep it on the inside, not expressing them, and it piles up. And one day when you try to express joy, happiness, it just doesn't come out, because your body is so used to just suppressing them, not expressing them. And one day if you try to do that, it feels uncomfortable because it has not been used to this. So your logical part of your mind has been trained so badly. It's been influenced so much by the society conditioning. You have to be a certain way, you have to dress a certain way, you have to act a certain way. And suddenly when you start exhibiting and expressing your emotions, even if it's your own marriage, let's say you're getting married and you try to express joy, it won't come on your face. You can fake it, but people know true authenticity. When they look at you, they know, they can feel it. You can be the best actor in the world, but people around you can feel what you're feeling. whatever you're feeling is contagious, and they can absolutely sense it, and they know when you're faking it and when you're not. You can fool them probably for 5-10 minutes, but you cannot fool them for more than an hour, more than 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. You cannot keep putting on that front. And that is why I like to talk about expressing your interests. Let's say you have some nerdy interest. Let's say you have some weird guilty pleasure. It's okay. Enjoy them, talk about them. Because whatever you're passionate about, and if you talk about them, you exhibit more lively energy. You exhibit more passion. And this actually brings in people together, and it's like people just want to be around you when you're talking about something that you're passionate about. And so take advantage of it. If you like some nerdy stuff, do it. As I mentioned, my ex-girlfriend, she loved the color palette. Like she loved mixing and matching colors. She was a painter actually, and she would talk so much about oil paints and watercolors, how you cannot mix them together, and sometimes you can mix them together. And this is really nerdy, but when she spoke about it, she gave it life. Like I was not interested about, oil painting or canvas painting or something, but when she spoke about it, I was kind of into it, because it is not the subject of the matter in itself, but the energy and the presence which she had while she explained it to me, and the passion she had, that was contagious. That energy was some high vibrational energy, and it kind of uplifted me into developing an interest for painting, mixing and matching colors. And now when I go and buy clothes, or even when I look inside my wardrobe, I'm kind of mixing and matching colors. Okay, does beige go well with navy blue? I'm thinking, like, her words are still running in my mind, and it's so beautiful. And one more thing is, the reason why people start getting into alcohol, cigarettes and drugs, because that makes them feel something. Now they have suppressed their emotions for such a long time. It's like you take a cup, you take a glass, and you fill it with all this dark, heavy, negative energy, and you're suppressing it for light energy to flow, and for all this positive energies to flow inside. It cannot go in. It cannot seep through that dark, heavy, thick, that muddy energy. You have to let it out, pour it outside, and then only then you have some space for that energy to be captured in. And so that is why you take insane drugs. People go and take these insane drugs just to feel something. They have to go, when they are not clearing out that heavy energy, they have to go do something way extreme just so they can feel something. It's like Jordan Belfort from the movie Wolf of Wall Street, and he says something like, on a daily basis, I consume enough drugs to sedate Manhattan, Long Island, and Queens for an entire month. I take Adderall 10 to 15 times a day for my back pain, Xanax to take the edge off, Pachamelamia, cocaine to wake me back up again, and then morphine, well, because it's awesome. And out of all the drugs in God's blue heaven, here's one that's my absolute favorite. It makes you feel like you're the top of the world, almost invincible, and eviscerate your enemies. Now, that is one of my absolute favorite lines in the entire movie. It's one of my favorite monologues of all time, and it is one of the best movies to ever exist, in my opinion. And even that real character, Jordan Belfort, who still lives and teaches people on how to sell, you absolutely adore his personality, but you don't want to be consuming drugs just to get some hit, just to get some feeling of expressing yourself. Because when you consume drugs, alcohol and cigarettes, right, it kind of shuts off the logical side of your brain, and the emotional side of your brain is reacting. Emotional side of the brain is so intelligent. It is like, okay, we have so much emotion stored inside the body, let us let go of it. It's dangerous to keep this inside, so let us let go of it. So you start expressing these emotions when you're drunk, when you're high, when you're not sober. Because when you're not sober, your logical part of the brain is shut off. You don't care about judgment. You don't care about what other people think about you. You don't care about your own opinion about yourself. You don't care about society's standards. And that is why many people who start drinking start these riots, start these fights, these bar fights, these fist fights, because they have so much, stored in anger inside their body, mind, and soul. And when alcohol hits their body, and their, logical part of the brain shuts off, and the emotional part of the brain starts working, they start expressing themselves. They start expressing all this stored, unreserved, kind of dark energy. They start exhibiting outside, and then they go to extremes. That's why you go to any club, you go to any nightclub, and when people are on drugs or on alcohol, they have so much energy. Like literally, they're just going wild. All of that is a result of not expressing your emotions. You don't need alcohol to do all of that. If you start cultivating a healthy release mechanism of your emotions, start expressing yourself, even if it's through music, through dancing, through sports, through art, through creativity, or if it's just you just talking, let it out. Don't store it inside, because it is more contagious than you can ever imagine. And when I talk about nerdy, weird stuff, which actually kind of makes you feel something and that you're passionate about, don't be afraid to talk about them. Don't be afraid to express your emotions through them. Let's say you love, playing badminton, and let's say you play tennis and you love the sport, and it's very nerdy about it. Express them. Talk about it to your friend group. And you would see your friends are actually kind of get more interested in that topic than you would ever imagine, because it is passion. It is your aura, your presence, the presence that you have when you talk about all these things that kind of makes people get absorbed into it. Now, I express myself through music, and I really love music, and it is a way which keeps my mind, body, and soul kind of attuned to this higher level of enlightenment. And I love all these heavy metal bands. I have my playlist. I have Queen, Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, and when you go to the pop side, I have Michael Jackson, Coldplay, Michael Bolton. I love all these amazing artists. But then I also have a female playlist. I love Celine Dion. Her voice is just magical. I love Adele. I also love Olivia Rodrigo. Her Soar album was so beautiful. The harmonies, the lyrical content is so amazing. It has so much depth. And even her new song, Vampire, people would say that it's very overplayed and it's too mainstream, but I still love that stuff. And when it come out, when it come down, you see these EDM playlists, and people have a bad opinion about EDM actually, because if you tell society that you listen to EDM, they think that people who listen to EDM are nutcases, are retarded. And because you go to any EDM concert, you see people jumping around and they have so much energy, right? So when you're expressing yourself and you're expressing that energy outside, society thinks that you're crazy. So I love EDM, and not modern EDM. I love the golden era of EDM. That was 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. All the earlier stuff of David Guetta, Martin Garrix, Hardwell, Armin van Buuren, Afrojack, Shoutek, Alisso, Axel Ingresso, and even Swedish House Mafia. And these were the golden moments of EDM, and I absolutely have so many memories attached to them, and it is so beautiful. If you go watch Tomorrowland live, 2011 to 2014, that festival is so beautiful. Now every DJ in the world is trying to bring back that energy, that presence that festival had. Every Coachella that happens every year, they're trying to replicate Tomorrowland. Even Tomorrowland is trying to replicate the years of Tomorrowland from 2011 to 2014. That's how beautiful it was. And then when you come back down to my other playlist, I have Disney songs. I love Disney songs. And really, I'm so, I'm not, afraid to admit it. I was really scared to tell people like I love Disney songs, and it goes from Tarzan to Mulan to classic Frozen. And moreover, I had this insane crush on Frozen, the Queen Elsa, who was in Frozen. And not only she was beautiful, but she had so much inner baggage that she had to deal with. She was locked away. She had so many challenges. And she had this insane character development, especially when you watch the second movie. She had this glow up. She had this courage. She had the inner strength. She pulled through her insecurities and the challenges that she was being, which she had to deal with. She dealt with it. She overcame them. And she conquered her fears. And she rose like a legend. And I had that insane crush on her. I still have a crush on Elsa. I don't know why. It's just some sort of attraction. And even though she may be cold at some instances, I still love her. I still love Queen Elsa. And that movie has so many great songs. Not only Let It Go, but also, Into the Unknown, Show Yourself. And I'm not afraid to admit it, because this is not considered cool when you go and tell it out in society. I would say like Led Zeppelin is cool. People say Led Zeppelin is cool. All this Bruno Mars stuff is cool. But many people just sleep on. Many people love Disney songs, but they don't want to admit it. And they love Olivia Rodrigo. They don't want to admit it. They love Celine Dion. They don't want to admit it because they have that fear of judgment. And I love all these kinds of music. I love Disney songs. I love Elsa. And if anybody wants to judge me or have any opinion about me, I really don't care. Fuck you. I will listen to whatever the fuck I want, irrespective of what people say. And that is the same attitude that you guys watching should have too. Because nobody judges you more than yourself. People may tell 2 or 3 sentences or have some 2 or 3 opinions on you, but that is going to fade away. People are too consumed by their own minds and their own lives that they're basically not that interested about you. Look at people who have been married for 20 years. People who have been living in a family for 20, 30, 40 years. They still don't acknowledge the other person. All they care about is themselves. So you're in a good place. You don't have to have that fear of judgment, like, oh my God, what is the other person going to think about me? They're soon going to forget it and go back into their own world, their own life, their own challenges. And your likings, dislikings, your activities, the way you express yourself really doesn't matter. And that is a key, information that kind of, makes you feel at ease and makes you more open to express your emotions in a healthy way. And consuming alcohol, consuming drugs may be the case for many of us, but when you tone them down and start being more sensitive to all the normal things in life, like looking at sunset is so beautiful. It makes me have this kind of experience, this experience of bliss. I don't know how to put into words. Like, I'm really clueless how to explain that, and nothing's going on in my mind, but words are coming out of my mouth. I have no idea what I'm saying, but still I'm saying. I really don't know how to explain it, but it feels so good. Every time I look at sunsets, I look at sunrise when I'm in nature. And I never knew that I love nature so much. I never knew that I love sunsets so much. It is after I quit all my vices and started spending time and exploring my inner demons, my inner thoughts, and letting go of them and expressing my emotions in a much more healthy way, that I've figured out so much about myself. Because when you're in your own head, replaying situations from the past or thinking about what could happen in the future, you fail to live in the present moment. And when you fail to live in the present moment, you fail to appreciate things that are right in front of your own eyes. And that is a dream killer. That is scary. And imagine you live your whole life, thinking about your past, thinking about the things that you could have done. And when it comes to your deathbed, you have this deep sense of regret, deep sense of, what if I did all that? And what if I was more expressive? That is the most painful feeling that a person can ever have throughout their entire existence. So if you don't want to be that person, start expressing more. All this letting go, meditation, all that stuff, it really boils down to expression. And this is the first step that you can take, because a guy who sits, meditates, and chants mantras, is having this escapism. There's no difference between you who sits down and meditates and a guy who consumes cocaine and Adderall together. Both of you are escaping reality and not acknowledging yourself. Like, you're just chanting mantras. Chanting mantras. Like, what the fuck that's gonna do? What's it gonna do? You're just numbing yourself more. Just numbing yourself. You don't want to feel anything on the inside. You don't want any thoughts to be, any uncomfortable thoughts to come up in your brain. You're just chanting some mantra and ignoring them. Express your emotions, acknowledge them, feel every single moment, irrespective of how painful or how not painful it is. Feel this entire range of human emotions because they are so beautiful. If you feel like crying, cry. If you feel like screaming, scream. And if you feel like jumping around in happiness, jump around in happiness. And also, I'm not saying you to go complete crazy, borderline crazy. You know, have boundaries. Don't do that in public or extremely public spaces. You can start at the comfort of your own home. If you feel like dancing, dance. And a small step each day can take you so much further in this whole experience. So start expressing yourself, start experiencing all these emotions, and start living.